But when you make the commitment in your career, in your business, to be the best that you can be, to make that the goal, then you have to accept that when you're coming in to have conversations, you better damn well go in there telling your potential employer, telling your potential colleagues what you're willing to do to make the team better. Welcome back to the Bridging the Divide podcast. I am your host, Rolando Bonilla. This is the week that the world comes together to celebrate the biggest party the world's ever seen, the World Cup 2026, happening for the first time in its history in 3 countries, the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And to tell you that this is an exciting time for the world and a needed, exciting, and positive time for the world would be an understatement. 48 teams, the 48 top teams in the world, coming together this year in pursuit of the World Cup trophy, trying to dethrone the current world champions, Argentina, led by none other than Lionel Messi. Lots of storylines this time around. Lots of storylines. Everything from this being Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi's very likely final World Cup to, what are the small teams like Curacao that have never even been in the World Cup going to do in this environment. We're going to have storylines of pain, suffering, love, joy as we follow the World Cup. The soccer community, as we say here in the United States, football, the rest of the world, calcio in Italia. This is going to be a time of riveting TV. Nothing that AI can ever compete with, right? Actual professional players on the field fighting for their countries, fighting for that. Now, what has this got to do with the Bridging the Divide podcast, right? Everything. Because this month we're going to watch the not just 48 best teams in the world, but we're going to watch stories of perseverance. We're going to watch stories of folks who grew up in poverty and continued fighting for their dreams, whether you played here in the United States, Canada, Algeria, Jordan, Mexico, Brazil, France, all these countries. You have stories of people, players who overcame obstacles and stayed committed to their goals, players who had bad coaches, players who had injuries, players who had to give up a lot of their personal life to even be considered to compete for these spots. Players that understood that once they made the commitment to become professional footballers, that they were going to do whatever it took to get there, no matter what was sacrificed. And let me be very clear. I use the word sacrifice because for those on the outside looking in, anything that doesn't look like it's fun in order to achieve a goal looks like sacrifice. I can assure you that none of these players were sitting there thinking that they were giving up anything, when in reality they believed they were gaining everything because they were able to spend their hopes and their dreams and their time pursuing the one goal they wanted more than anything in the world. See, to me, that's what the World Cup is. That's what athletic events are. That's what anything that has to do with winning and losing in life, to me, really brings to light. What are you willing to do to be the best that you can be in the profession that you are choosing? Look, I just went through an extensive interview process where I had to talk to a ton of young folks or folks transitioning to different jobs. As you know, this is a pretty beat up job economy right now. People losing their jobs left and right. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little taken aback by how much I was inundated with questions about work-life balance, with questions about, do I really have to work nights? Do I really have to work weekends? With questions about, is it necessary for me to spend long hours at work to get the job done? What is your vacation package? Can I get more than 2 weeks? Another good one that I heard was, what kind of programs are you willing to provide me? And by the way, I don't want to work a full week. I was thinking more of a, 2 in the office, 3 from home. And look, I'm not judging. Everyone has the right to to be whatever they want to be. They won't establish whatever standards they want to establish for themselves. You are more than free to do that. It's your life. It's your prerogative. But I am here to tell you, don't buy the bullshit that's out there about different levels of success, that we all have different definitions of success. Yes, we can have different definitions of success, but it doesn't change the fact that to be the best at what it is you choose to be, there is only one path. Don't kid yourself. There is only one path. And these soccer players, these 48 countries, each team with 11 players on the field, are a great example of that. No shortcuts. All of these guys, extra training, extra practice, extra time in the video room watching plays, extra time doing recovery work, extra time making sure they eat right. You know, Kylian Mbappe, the international French star who also plays for Real Madrid, talks about how for him it was difficult at times because as he would go out with friends, he'd be the one walking around with a meal plan. Now think about this. This guy is a young 20-something multimillionaire, internationally known athlete, going to the best restaurants in the world, and there he is with his meal plan, right? His meal plan. Most of us fail. I mean, I know I struggle. My diets start every Monday. By 9:15 in the morning, I'm talking about my diet starting next Monday, right? That's most of us, and that's fine. But when you make the commitment in your career, in your business, to be the best that you can be, to make that the goal, then you have to accept that when you're coming in to have conversations, you better damn well go in there telling your potential employer, telling your potential colleagues what you're willing to do to make the team better. It isn't about you. It's about you in the context of what skills and energy you're bringing in to be competitive. Now, again, this rule applies to everyone, but it applies much more to the Bridging the Divide podcast audience members who, as I've said from the very beginning, that we started at -0, -20. Our biggest commodity has always been and must always be our willingness to put in more time, to put in more effort, to put in more of an obsession into it, because that's what sets us apart when we're not connected. That's what sets us apart when we've never done anything before. That's what sets us apart in an environment, right, where that in many ways systematically that isn't necessarily built for us. And so success comes from this idea that once you step on the court, the field, or whatever it is, that you are the one that's dedicated and committed to this idea that you are here. See, I remember my questions were, how much more can I do? Can I work weekends? Do you need someone to drive you around? Can I go with you to meetings, even if it's just to be a fly on the wall in case you need something? And don't get it twisted. For those of you that are listening tonight disagreeing with me and saying, oh, Rolando, you don't know what you're talking about. The world's changed. It hasn't changed that much. Every year, law schools make lawyers that go to the best law firms in the country. Every year, business schools send future, finance folks and bankers to the best banks in the world. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, so on and so on. Every year, there are people going to NASA, aerospace, Air Force Academy. Every year, there are people who get drafted into the NBA, NFL, MLS, NHL, all of the above. See, because those people understood that in order for them to be successful, they had to commit. They had to understand the principle of, as Tom Brady talks about, you may not get a lot of reps, but if you do get that one rep, you better make it count. And so coming in to meet with a potential employer, coming in to meet with a potential business partner, coming in to meet with, a potential person that's going to help you get into a law school, business school, or whatever, and talking about your concerns about social life and time off is just wrong. It's the reason a lot of us disqualify ourselves before we are even on the field with the opportunity to compete. Look, this stuff is not easy. This stuff is scary. This stuff is not fun. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I did things in my career leading to this moment where I'm at today where I at times was scared. Now, I said it, scared. Now, for those of you that know me, I'm 6'6", 295 on a good day, right? And People sometimes have a hard time understanding that I get afraid. But of course, I'm human. I've done lots of things in my career where I was nervous, never done things before. But you step into it. You research. No such thing as lack of information nowadays. You ask questions coming in. You prepare your mind, and you understand that you are there to make an impression. And if at the very least to make an impression for yourself, you don't want to leave, as we used to say in the neighborhood, money on the table. And here in this set of facts, money on the table is coming in and asking your potential employer, asking your potential, college admissions director, law school admissions director, how much free time do I get? Do I get extra weekends? Do I really have to work on nights? Do I really have to work Saturday and Sunday? How many do I have to work? Who cares? You're at the bottom of the totem pole. Who cares? You haven't done anything yet. So right now, the only commodity that you have is your commitment, your passion, and your dedication. Every one of these players playing in the World Cup, every single one of them has the same mindset. Pay attention if you're going to watch this. Pay attention to how players react when they get pulled off the field. I guarantee you 100% of the time, that player is upset. That player is angry. And I want you to also pay attention to how that player that's about to get on the field is acting. I guarantee you he's excited. I guarantee you he's revved up. I guarantee you he understands this is his moment to shine, and he's not going to mess it up, right? I think the best story of that, for those of you that do follow sports, Tom Brady, right? Drew Bledsoe gets hurt. He was ready. He was ready. Never looked back. He was ready. Because he put that time, he put that preparation, he put that film study sessions, he ate well, he did all the things he needed to do to be ready. Can you imagine if a player said to a coach, well, coach, I'm not sure I want to go in because, going in is going to impact my ability to rest this evening. That player's never going to play again. And just like you're about to watch, that player is going to get replaced by someone that is hungrier, that wants it more. And so when you're out there, whether it's trying to get a business going, whether it's getting into grad school, whether it's getting a job, you have to lead. If you know you don't have a network, if you know you don't have resources, if you know this is new territory, well, then you better damn well lead with the one thing you can control, which is your attitude, your hunger, and the brand that you are leaving behind. Am I going to walk away from an interaction with you believing that you are hungry and that you want this? Or am I going to walk away from this interaction thinking that you are more concerned about your time off, therefore you are no real value to our organization? None. Sorry to tell you, none. AI, the jobs they're going to take away, they're going to take away yours because you're not willing to do more. You're not willing to put that time and that energy to show your potential employer or to show your potential investors that you are that guy or gal that's willing to do whatever it takes. Again, let me say it again if it sounds harsh. AI, the jobs it's going to replace is going to replace yours. Because that's what's happening right now. If you're hungry, if you put in that time to study, if you put in the time to understand your craft, if you're willing to give 150,000%, as cliche as that sounds, you're always going to be recession-proof because at the end of the day, everything comes down to interactions with people, right? And so are you able to make that a part of how you lead, a part of how you interact with folks? Or are you going to buy this bull of, well, we're all different. We all have different standards. Yes, no, you're right. We're all different. We all do have different standards. But when you choose to enter a profession, a craft, if you're not entering it with the goal of wanting to be the best that you can be at it, you're not only providing a disservice. If you don't want to make this about the company, that's fine. But you're providing a disservice to yourself. Because in doing that, you are creating a pathway for yourself where your success is contingent on whether someone likes you or not. I had someone close to me talk about how, politics is the reason that his kid's not playing baseball. And my response to that was always, well, that's not necessarily true. If your kid's hitting 400-foot bombs, every time he's at the plate, trust me, you're on the team. And so that's kind of the way you have to be. And that's kind of the way you have to think, that when you're having these interactions and when you come from where we come from, if you're not leading with that, then you're already putting yourself at a severe disadvantage, because you are already disadvantaged because, as we know, there's a reason the number of people of color, for example, in all these organizations is low, and now even lower, right, given the current political climate that we're in. So the way to offset that is to control what you can control by putting your best foot forward. And like these players in the World Cup, going through every single gauntlet that's thrown in front of you and using those experiences to make you better, to make you stronger, and to keep you out there on the pitch playing at the highest level that you can play. That's how you make yourself AI-proof. That's how you put yourself on a path to bridge that divide for yourself, for your family, and put yourself on a path where you, to an extent, control your destiny. Because guess what? People want good players. People want good players. When I ran for the San Jose Planning Commission appointment, I knew that the odds were stacked against me. At the time, there was a political undercurrent that did not want me there. Did not want me there. Never made it a secret that they did not want me there. In fact, I had people come tell me, "Hey, Rolando, why are you doing this? You're not going to get the votes. People aren't interested in you being there. Don't do it, man. It's a waste of your time. You're going to get embarrassed." The hell do I care about being embarrassed? I don't care. I could care less. Let me tell you what. More people have killed their dreams concerned about being embarrassed in front of people they've never met in their life. And I refuse to live that way. Anyway, long story short, I go through the process. And yeah, you were right. The odds were stacked against me. It was a uphill climb all the way through. But at the end, I knew that as long as I made myself as perfect as I can be, my goal was to make it difficult for them to say no. Difficult for them to say he's not prepared for the moment. Difficult for them to say this is not the right fit. And so I did what I do best. I prepared. I watched hours of tape of commission meetings. I wrote down a speech. I practiced it. I memorized it. In fact, I had a broken foot. I took the boot off and walked in with my swollen foot, put it in the shoe, and made sure that I looked as perfect as I could look. And when it was time to perform, I shined. I knew I did. I knew when I was done. The only way I was not getting that appointment was just people playing political sabotage. But at the end, I got the appointment. And one of the council members, San Jose, comes down and says to me, "Rolando," he says, "you made it impossible for us to say no to you." And he said it, and I thought about that. You made it impossible for us to say no to you. And that's precisely what I wanted. And so all of you have that opportunity. Whatever it is you do, be so perfect. And again, through your preparation, through your mindset, through your attitude, and most important, through what you are demonstrating to the person talking to you, that I can't say no to you, that I can't. And so that is what you can control. That is what you are seeing in these 48 countries and the players on those teams. People that understood that no matter what, no matter the injury, no matter the mismatch with your teammates, no matter the mismatch with the coaching, whether you were stressed, whether you were having problems at home, whether there's a famous soccer coach by the name of Matias Almeida. He's now, I believe, coaching in the La Liga, which is the Spanish soccer league. And, he once said to me, in a conversation we had, he goes, being a coach is understanding every aspect of a player in terms of his mindset, how he's feeling at home, how he's feeling on the pitch. And so all of these things are things we have to be our own coaches for ourselves, just like him. And we have to coach ourselves and manage all of these things so that when we are on the pitch, when we are out there in front of that potential employer or investor, that person walks away saying, wow, I need to have that person on my team, or damn it, I need to make an investment into this person's company, because even if that company doesn't work out, this is someone I want to be partnered with in some way. We can control that. Don't let the world trick you into thinking that you can't control that. And if you don't believe me, look at sports. Look at the biggest investing houses in the country, in the world. Look at whatever profession you want to. Look at who's leaving straight from college, straight from grad school, and going into those places. And say to yourself, even if you don't feel that you belong, make yourself belong, right? Fight for it. Make whomever is talking to you. I have an intern. I was proud of her. She, wanted to work at a big investment house and, one of these big consulting firms, and she wasn't getting any responses. She wasn't getting any attention. She was, what should I do? And I said, do what you do. I said, do not stop reaching out until you get a response. Well, long story short, she finally gets them a response. She figures out what event they were at, goes to the event, tells them that she emailed. And at the end, she actually got an offer. She got an offer. All because she didn't quit. All because she led with, I want this. All because she wasn't afraid of saying, I want this. And so if we all have that same attitude and mindset, bridging the divide isn't us sitting around complaining about what's not happening. Well, we know what's not happening. We're not stupid. We're all living it. Bridging the divide is about us having that mindset and saying, fuck it. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to be a machine. I'm going to be that person whose presence and knowledge is so strong that even if I don't know everything, what you do know is that if you bring me on board, you're going to get someone who's going to do whatever it takes to be and add value to the organization, or by extension, myself. That's not that hard to do if you really want this. That's not that hard to do, because if you can't bridge that divide, don't expect the rest of the world to bridge it for you, right? Don't expect the rest of the world to come rescue you just because, I wanted to do this. I just didn't know how. So what? Figure it out. Figure it out, right? That's what these podcasts are for. That's what the books are for. That's what the newspaper's for. That's what reaching out to people's for, right? If you are creative enough, you can get the information. And if you're hungry enough, if you can create an opportunity, you can make an impression. You can make an impression. So listen, enjoy the World Cup. Play your own World Cup of life. Prepare. Have the right attitude. And be ready to let people know that when you are in front of them, you are someone they cannot live without. Don't leave the impression that you are concerned more about your time off and your holidays and your weekends and time with family. Look, that's important. But for most of you out there, right, whether it's on your business, whether it's what do I do down at college, whatever it may be, you have to understand you're at the bottom of the totem pole. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's been at the bottom of the totem pole. Now it's your job to pull yourself out of that by relying on the information you do have, growing from it, building from it, so that when you do have those opportunities, as minimal as they are, right? You can be like Tom Brady. Once you get that chance, you never look back. You never look back, and you go ahead and you make such an impression that at some point, that's the moment that changed your life. All right, everyone, go get it. I believe in you. Until next time, thanks for listening.